Hello, everybody. So I'd like to apologize for those few of you that I'm thankful for that check in every time I go live, because I was not able to make a video yesterday. It was today Wednesday, so Tuesday. But I'm back today. I have to be done with this video in about 25 minutes, so I'll try to make it short and sweet, which means probably people will be asking me questions or not. But if you do, that's great, and I might have to cut the video a little short. But I was going to talk about something different. Maybe I should save that for tomorrow and not talk about that. But I decided to talk about, because today is August 15th, 2018, that long dreaded day that we've known about for months, since I believe the beginning of this year, that today marks the beginning of sort of the new future for us as third-party FBA sellers on Amazon. It is the very first day of monthly long-term storage fees. So 6 month. Hey man, how you doing? Maybe that's what I should be instead of Book Bandit. I'll change it to Book Wizard. Although I don't know if I'm a wizard, but yeah. So from here on out, there's going to be 6 month and year long, or 1 year, 12 month rather, 6 month and 12 month monthly storage fees that are going to hit once a month from here on out, apparently, unless Amazon changes it, which I doubt they will. This is their way of letting us know, basically, that I mean, this light's a little bright here. That they're not really in the business of storage. They're more in the business of fulfillment, as in, we will receive your items, we will store it briefly, but not too long, and then we'll ship it out for you, and then we'll handle returns, and we'll handle the customer service issues related to shipping and that sort of thing. And we'll make sure to get those items there within 2 days. At least that's what they are striving for. Hi, Zena, how you doing? And okay, I'll get to a second. And yeah, so they're basically they're in the fulfillment business. They're letting us know that there's times years ago, even 2 years ago, when you could just let a book sit there for years and only have to pay monthly storage fees are over. They want items in their warehouse, receiving items that are going to sell either instantly, within a few hours, within a few days, within a few weeks. If it's going to take 3 or 4 months, they're going to charge you the monthly fees. Then if it's going to take 6 months or longer, they're going to charge you a long-term storage fee. And if it's going to be there for a year or more, they're going to charge you 50 cents or more for that item, depending on its size and dimensions and all that stuff. So basically, this is the new normal. This is what's going to happen. And yesterday, I wrote it down here. I got rid of, disposed of 136 items. They were a mix of books and CDs. Most of these items I had sent in before, let's see, well, clearly longer than 6 months ago. But so from about February back to 2017, I had some stuff there. But a lot of that stuff from 2017 was stuff that I would not send in now. I've gotten better every time I source, whether it's out in thrift stores or in book sales or in a gaylord of items. I'm always trying to get better about it, trying to send in stuff that's going to sell relatively quickly, but for a profit, and also sprinkle some stuff in there that is potentially going to take a little bit longer to sell, but has a higher profit, usually over $20, whatever the item is. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. But so basically, this kind of, I recommend using this new normal, which will be for a lot of people, this first month, or this first time the long-term storage fees will hit for people that have been here for, let's say, selling for like 6 months to a year and don't really realize how, weren't paying attention, or are being ignorant about it, willfully ignorant, that they don't want to deal with it. That I think a lot of sellers will leave after this first month or two here of long-term storage fees, because they'll get hit with it. It'll eat into It'll either take all their payout, their next payout, or it'll take a big chunk of it. And a lot of them will say it's too much for me. It's too much hassle to have to go and remove those items, even though you can have Amazon do it automatically. And I'm going to get out of the business. So there'll be people that will get out, there'll be people that'll stay, people that'll stay for a little bit and decide it's too much hassle, in addition to everything else, all the other obstacles that Amazon throws up. And I think, one of the big reasons for this is because they really only want people that are serious about selling, especially when it comes to doing books, which is what they started with. Amazon started with back in mid 90s. And anybody can do it. So they want to make sure that if anyone's going to do it, the people who are going to do it are going to be serious about it. They're going to send in good stuff that's going to sell relatively quickly, that's in the right condition, that type of thing. So they're going to impose all of these obstacles, like split shipments, like the monthly storage fees are fine, but the new metrics that they have, and selling metrics, and the long-term storage fees, and there's all these different obstacles that are not necessarily that. Oh, cool. Hi, Daniel. Glad you're here. That are just thrown up. These obstacles that were not there when I started back in 2014 didn't really start to creep in until the fees went up, FBA fees went up, and then they slowly started implementing all these other things. So I think that you should use it, especially, whether you're been around a little bit like me, or you've been doing this, let's say, a year or less, or if you're really new and you've only been doing it for less than 6 months, I still think it's a good chance. So if you started in January, February, this year has basically been the only time you've been doing it. It's a good time to do like a checkup. I went back and looked at my sales numbers for the year, back to January all the way to today. So through August 15th, well, the day is not over, but I had 9 sales today so far. But just to kind of see how it's been going for me. And for me, it makes sense where my numbers are. But I was pleasantly surprised to see my gross is I'm actually on track to probably have my best year on Amazon, which is crazy. I mean, it's crazy just in general, but it's also a surprise, I guess. But anyway, it looks like if I have, a great holiday, that I'll probably have the best year I've had, which is kind of funny when you think about it, considering all of the obstacles and all the higher fees and whatnot that Amazon has implemented. Although I'll say, even though the gross sales, I'm on track to have more, clearly, because I send in a lot of faster stuff that has lower profit, I won't make as much, percentage-wise, as much profit as I would have a couple of years ago. But, regardless, still making money doing it. So kind of use this as a checkup time. I would say, let's see, use long-term storage fees, monthly long-term storage fees to your advantage. So I would say one thing is to get better at sourcing and better at pricing. Hey, Robert, I know. Robert knows all about it. He's been doing this for a while. Yeah, so I was just telling them that yesterday I disposed of 136 books and CDs mostly, which was about $20. So it wasn't too bad for me, but I don't have a huge inventory. I don't know if you want to share with everybody how many you had to dispose of. Oh, okay, there you go, $68. So is that because you've been really good about what you send in? Probably so, right? Your sell-through rate is really good. But yeah, I'd say I would get better at sourcing, get better at pricing. Okay, 424. Okay. Yeah, it's not too expensive, but it's a lot. A lot of books to get rid of, a lot of items to get rid of. So yeah, use this kind of as like a motivation to, whether you are getting hit with some long-term storage fees, or you had to get rid of a bunch of books or items, it was just a hassle. Get better at sourcing. So whether you're doing it like I used to, thrift stores and books, book sales and garage sales and all that, or if you're doing bulk or want to get into bulk, just get much better at what you send in. I've become really, well, realistic, but kind of brutal about it in terms of things that I used to convince myself in my mind, oh, I'll send it in anyway because I'll take a chance at it, and nowadays I just won't. I won't do that with a lot of stuff that I would have done before, without giving you a specific example, but something that maybe even a year ago I would have sent in that now I'm just not going to even try based upon my experience. So this kind of stuff takes time. You're gonna get better at sourcing by sending in stuff, seeing what sells. But that's really the most important is better at sourcing, better at pricing. So pricing, what I mean is pricing things. Yeah. Yeah. What you send in and pricing things, don't, okay, sorry, I got a text. So yeah, don't. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about price. I saw this in a video before. I spoke about this in a video before, where pricing is really important. I I I don't like to undercut people unless I'm trying to get rid of something for long-term storage fees. But aside from that, I'll match the lowest FBA offer. Unless they're like it's like new and I have a good copy, then I'll go under a little bit. But if the condition's the same, I'll always match. Um, yeah, 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 for sure. Uh, and Robert's mentioning FBA scans days with sales, and Scout IQ has a similar one with eScore, so you can see how many sales that item has had over. Isn't it over? Is it for FBA scan? I believe it's 6 months. How many sales or how many days had at least one sale? I believe is what it is. So that's helpful. You'll get used to the. A lot of people say, "Oh, sales rank." Yeah, yeah, 6 months. People say, sales rank. Don't even look at it. Don't even bother with it. But yeah, but the combined the sales rank. So on FBA scan, you'll have the current sales rank, and you'll have the rolling. What is it? 3 month sales rank. So those two combined with the days with sales is really powerful because you don't have to. Most of the time, you don't even have to look at a Keepa chart. You can just look at those numbers, and then, of course, where the FBA prices are, where the merchant fulfilled prices are. But you can just glance at those, and it's pretty quick, to be able to make these decisions about books. And also, it helps you if you want to use the triggers and all that to kind of hone that stuff. Um, but for sure, sourcing and pricing slash repricing, of course, are really important. You got to be realistic about pricing and about competition. If a book is selling a book or whatever is really, really popular, it's ranked below 10,000. I mean, it's a book ranked below 10,000. It's selling like crazy. If it's one below 5,000 or so, if there's potentially going to be a lot of FBA copies, and if there's enough profit in it, understand where to price it there. If you want to sell it quicker, price it a little lower with all the other FBA offers. Sometimes you'll see, oh, the lowest offer is $9.99, and then someone is way down at $6.99. Well, just let that one sell, and probably price it at $9.99 to make enough money. But that type of stuff. Just get better with that. Another thing you can do is, if you're new, I mean, I know Robert was talking about this in another video or commenting on how his sales are doing really well over the summer and in general. And mine have been doing really well as well. I got more heavy into CDs, which sell all year, but books sell all year as well. You don't have to just sell them or just wait around for the back to school time like right now, which is awesome for that kind of stuff. But if you're new, I suggest sticking with it because there's going to be people, like I mentioned earlier, who are going to leave the business. People are always coming and going through the business, but I think these monthly long-term storage fees are gonna be tough for some people, and they're not gonna want to hassle with it, and they're gonna decide to not do it. But if you stick with it, you're gonna be one of the few. You'll see over the next 6 months to a year how it shakes out. I mean, a lot of people have left just because of the increase in FBA fees, because of a lot of the split shipments, because of the impending long-term storage fees, and now that it's finally here, and on top of everything else, there's going to be probably even more people leaving. So I mean, this is a great business opportunity. If you can find books for relatively cheap, around $1 or so, and good profit in there, then you can make good money at this. So yeah, less offers. I've noticed that listing the books, at least, there's less mega sellers, and it seems like there's more newer sellers on the book listings in general. So either the mega sellers, FBA mega sellers got out of Amazon, or just out of FBA and started doing merchant fulfilled more. But yeah, there seems to be less competition in the book category for sure. But I would suggest sticking with it. I mean, of course, you can do whatever you want. You could leave. If you leave, that's better for people like us who are sticking with it. But you know, it's just nature. It's just people are going to end up leaving the business, and if you can stick it out and get better at sourcing, so get a lot of sources. If you're not doing bulk, then you're going to have to find a lot of different sources to go to. Talk to people, talk to the thrift store managers, especially the mom and pops, the one-off type of places. You build relationships with them. You get to access the books that never go to the floor. Maybe get to access books that are just donated, or just buy all of them off of them for a cheap price. There's a lot of things you can do with that. So relationships are huge. Another thing is to get better with long tail books, CDs, etc. Whatever you're specializing in. While I think it's really important in general, if you know, to send in, or what was I going to say? I send in CDs and books that I can sell really quickly for profit. That's not all the stuff I send in, but that's a good chunk of it. But I also like to send in stuff where there's clearly, you know, they're selling for over $20 or much more, clearly. I mean, not just textbooks, but not just school-related books, but things that are steady demand, low supply, or, you know, low competition. And it has, by demand, I mean that over the last year, 6 months to a year, there's been sales, and there's just not that many copies. So, you know, if all the prices are like 40, $50 and there's only like 4 or 5 copies, no FBA offers, but it's selling about, you know, once a month, once every month and a half, 2 months or so. Yeah, you're probably going to want to send that in and give it a shot. And if you send in 100 of those, some won't sell, some will take a little longer than you thought. Some you might have to reprice, but overall you should come out ahead and make some good profit by mixing those in with the faster selling, lower profit, and also the sort of like ones that'll take a little bit longer but make a little bit more profit, sort of the medium there. If a book has a days with sales number of 5, yeah, I would say yeah, over 6 months. Well, here's the thing. This is a trick question. So yes and no. Right. No, exactly. No. I understand. Yeah. So 5 looks bad, but it depends. I mean, if there's hardly any copies, if the prices are pretty high, if the price has been high consistently for a while, if it's sold 5 times in 6 months, yeah. If one of yours is the copy, or if you were one of like 8 copies and 5 of them sold, but yours didn't, then yeah, for sure you have to think about repricing or pricing better, whether you're doing FBA or merchant fulfilled. But yeah, for sure. So I like to see those ones that have, you know, 5 sales, but it depends on, I see them a lot though, where they have 5 sales, but there's way too many copies and the price is too low. But you'll see enough where there's money in there for sure. I don't know what I wrote here. Lower the number of items. Oh God. I don't even know what I wrote down here. Lower the number of items you have. Oh, right. So if you got hit with if there were a lot of, so Robert said he had 442 books, items that he had to get rid of, dispose of, turn into flames, or thrown into a Gaylord for Amazon to sell. I don't know, whatever they do. I had 136. It's all relative to, you know, how many items you have. I mean, my let's see, I was at 1,009 items in FBA when I got rid of 136. So that was about what, almost 14%, which is a little too high for me, for my liking. So I'm gonna have to work on lowering that. I'd like to get that, you know, much lower. But like I said, a lot of those were items I sent in last year. It's going to happen. You know, I have to, no one's perfect, including myself with FBA. Got to get better at sourcing, better at what I'm sending in, learn from my mistakes, kind of a thing. So Yeah, I mean, certain things that I was looking at that I had repriced, I sold off probably like 15, 20 items that I repriced over the past month or so, of some of those old ones, but some of them just didn't sell. Wasn't enough time there, whatever the reason was, so I had to get rid of them. But looking at some of the titles, some of the CDs specifically, I know now when I see them that that's not something I'm going to send in. And it's funny, some of those titles that I had to get rid of, uh, dispose of for FBA, I've seen them in since I've sent them in, I've seen them in Gaylord. So I know, I know that those are not ones that I'm going to be sending in. So you just have to kind of learn and get better about it. So I want to lower the amount of items that I have to dispose of, going forward. Clearly, you have to do this every month. So, in another 29 days or so, you're gonna have to take a look. Well, before then, but we should be repricing. But yeah, this is going to be a monthly activity. Clearly, it's not going to be it shouldn't be as many every month, depending upon, how often or how consistently you're shipping in and sourcing and all of that. But it's something that is going to happen monthly for sure. Let's see. So I can kind of see that. I wrote down my sales because I got to go in a few minutes here. From January to August. So cumulative. Okay, well, here we go. So in January, January is I don't know. Well, I just want to rattle off numbers if it makes sense. Doesn't make sense, but I guess one thing I'll say is, so January, February typically really good for books, because back to school. Well, they are really good, clearly. First couple weeks of February, last couple weeks of January, but it's good all through the month. So I had 308 sales in January, and then it went up to 320 in February, and then it went down in March, which was still good for me, 234. And then it went down again to 194 in April, and then 160 sales in May. So what happened with me is I stopped shipping consistently, and because I started trying out or doing more eBay and that type of thing, and I got pretty frustrated with FBA with all the split shipments. And so I really slowed down my business there. But then I decided to go through 3 or 4 Gaylords that I had, to just plow through them, get all the good FBA stuff. And I started doing that in May and June. I sent in probably like 800 or so. So then my sales in June were 300. My sales last month, 300 sales. And my sales last month were 400. I had 400 sales. I don't know what this is about 300 and 400 right on the dot. But and then so far in August 15th, which is halfway through the month, I've had 205 sales. Now, you're probably wondering my ASP, my average sale price. It's pretty consistent throughout the year. January was my highest at $12.51. And then my second highest, well, excluding August, was July, which was $11.73. But through January 1st to August 15th, my average sale price was $11.39. So, oh, no problem, Mark. I'm gonna have to cut the video in a couple of minutes, unfortunately, because I gotta go do something. But glad you could make it for the last few minutes. So overall, my gross sales have been just over 24,000. So again, if you're not familiar, I'm just doing this by myself. Yeah, myself too. Yeah, I did too. And so yeah, I was looking at my numbers, and I was pretty pleasantly surprised with July. Part of that was what is it called? The Prime Day. Those 2 days I had a bunch of sales, and there were some really good sales days in July. I wasn't quite sure why, but July was really good. August has been doing really well. September, first week to week and a half will be good because of back to school. And then it should slow down a little bit, but kind of my strategy is why I got into CDs, aside from their size and having access to them and being pretty inexpensive to get and that sort of thing, is I wanted to diversify so that I didn't have to depend upon the books, when books are going to sell and back to school and all that stuff. So that's why I want to, get a diversified inventory, and why I send in a lot of CDs and a few audiobooks and some video games here and there that I find in the Gaylords or wherever. But for the most part, CDs and books. So yeah, so that's basically it. I said it, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm on track to have my best year gross sales wise. And I'm really going to be pushing. So I'm kind of chomping at the bit right now because I feel like I'm not taking full advantage of the back to school time because I haven't focused on books. But I think what my focus is going to be is, I mean, I sent some good stuff in, but not nearly as much as I would have liked. But whoops. Hold 1 second, Mark. But I think my focus is going to be more on just sending in a ton of CDs. Oh, thanks, Robert. For just in general, but also for Q4, for the holidays, so I can have just want to have a really incredible December, and then push that into January for back to school. So I want to be sending in I'm going to try to send in a lot of books as well, so I can really have a good solid November and then an excellent December, and then start off the year well with January and February. But I'll probably send in a few more books, but it won't be that many for this back to school. It's probably mostly going to be CDs, because I ordered. So in 2 days on Friday, I'm going to get an order of 2 Gaylords of CDs and 1 of books. So I'll see what I find in the book Gaylord. I haven't got one in a while, but out of those Gaylords, I should probably pull, of the CDs, I should probably get close to or more than 400 CDs to send in. Of course, it'll take me a little bit to get to those, but yeah, so that's kind of what I want to do, is get into a bit of a groove, a consistent schedule of sending stuff in, and getting Gaylords. But always the problem is the duds, the stuff that I cannot do on FBA. Those are always the challenge. But at any rate, I have to go. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. It's been a good year for me so far. I hope you guys can kind of check into your business, whether you're doing it by yourself, whether you have people working with you, whether you're part-time, sometime, full-time, whatever it is. Kind of check out your numbers and see where you are. Here we are past half the year, but oh, okay. See where you are a little more than halfway through. Thank you, Mark. And yeah, click the like button. That's appreciated, and subscribe. But yeah, see where your numbers are. And if your numbers aren't quite where you want them to be, then it's easy as sourcing more, pricing better. If you're going to source consistently, then you got to do shipments consistently. I would say try to do a shipment a week. If you're doing it by yourself, which I assume most people that are going to watch this video are, and that's one thing that changed this business, FBA business, for me, was being consistent about getting a shipment out every week. Of course, that was before split shipments was a nightmare, but nonetheless, you should really strive for that, to try to get at least I would say every 7 to 10 days, get a shipment out, as many as you can, and just be consistent about it. And before you know it, it'll just take a couple months, 2-3 months, your inventory will grow. And the idea is not to grow your inventory just to have a big inventory, but to grow your inventory so you have more sales. I mean, that's clearly the point. You don't want to have just a big inventory. You want your stuff to sell quickly. So you sell way more, which is what happened with me. I sold a lot more from June to August now. I mean, I had 160 sales in May, and then I had 300 sales, and I had 400 sales, and I've had 205 sales. So that's 7, 8, what is that? 905 sales since June 1st, 2.5 months, way more than the previous 2.5 months, which were 2, 4, 5, almost 600, so 300 plus more sales And that's because of sending in a lot more, being consistent about it, pricing better. I just have been impressed by how well the sales have been going just by me sending in more stuff and being consistent. So I got to go, guys. I'm going to go get some exercise, play some soccer, which I talked about the last video. But anyway, I'll make another video tomorrow, different topic. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you're watching this live and not subscribed, please subscribe. Please like. If you're watching this later on, which most of you will, then please subscribe if you're not. I really appreciate it. And I'll make another video tomorrow. Thanks for checking in, guys. And as always, keep booking.